Hey, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone, whatever time it is for you, and welcome to the Fundamentals of Theory, level number 5, session 1. First thing I'd like to do today is congratulate you on making it this far into the Fundamentals of Theory packets. If you have been making your way from Fundamentals of Theory 1 and been gaining that knowledge over this entire course of information, that's really impressive that you have taken this knowledge, learned it, and earned your way all the way up to this particular level. So very big accomplishment. Congratulations for that. I also wanted to inform you that if you finish this packet in good standing, you will probably be ready to test out of the basic collegiate music theory courses at any music college or university you're planning to attend. If that is something that you're planning to do, please let me know or let your instructor know if the college or university needs any verification on this accomplishment. Sometimes they need like a letter or something. So if that's something you're planning to do to try to test out of it, make sure that you keep us in the loop on that. Also, I should mention too, on the chance that you actually tested into this level of theory, first off, super impressive and congratulations on that. To pre-test essentially up into this level. If that's the case, this may be your first time interacting with the OneNote or the Class Notebook program, so I wanted to go over just a little bit of how to navigate through this, just in case you've not done it before. So first thing that you're going to be doing, that we're going to be using in here, obviously this is the theory packet number 5. This should be in your particular student assignment or whoever your instructor has set it up. But obviously your packet is here, but hopefully they will also provide you this piano layout. And this is something that I'm going to be referencing a bit just because sometimes seeing it on the piano helps you understand a little bit better to see it visually as opposed to just kind of thinking of the notes, esoterically on your instrument or kind of just doing it in your head. It's kind of easy to see it sometimes on the piano. So I will be referring to this. If you don't have this, maybe ask your instructor or at least ask me to assign it to you if you're in my class, so that way you can get this information in reference to it as well. In addition to the piano that we're going to be using, let's talk about some of these tabs across the top. So the main one that you're going to be using is this Draw tab, and I am going to ask that you please use this red pen. The reason I like you to use the red pen is just it's a lot easier for me to see the marks when you get to the page. Obviously that's just a bunch of scribbles, but when I can see red on a black background, that makes it a lot easier for me to see and a lot easier for me to grade, give you some critique, that sort of thing. The black tends to blend in and it makes it harder for me to see. So if you would please use the red pen, that'll make it a lot easier for me. If you really hate red, I think there's a couple of color options here. Just try to pick something that's not too dark or too light so it's not difficult to see, but red is kind of the thing that most people use. That's okay. If you do wind up making a mistake on the page, I do want to recommend the undo shortcut on your keyboard, and that is Control-Z. The control is the CTRL key in the bottom left-hand corner of your keyboard. If you hold down Control and hit Z, it will undo that thing that you just saw on the screen. If you want to use the eraser tool, this also helps to erase the mistakes. You can click and then drag over top of it like this, or if you want to just click directly on it, that also erases it as well. But Control-Z seems to work a lot faster since you're probably using your mouse with your dominant hand, and then you can use your other hand to do that Control-Z, and it makes it go by really fast. Some other functions that you'll probably use is this View tab up near the top and this plus and minus magnifying glass. And that just allows you to kind of zoom in a little bit so you can, get a little bit closer, and you're going to be drawing some, some notes and stuff like this on the staff. And if it's really small, for example, like if you're zoomed out, it might be kind of hard to make it fit exactly in there. So I tend to like to zoom in a little bit. You'll see me do that a few times, but that's how to do it on the program. It's in the View tab, and then it's this plus or minus magnifying glass that helps you zoom in or out. Okay. Also, a few students also like to make this, they are not great freehand drawers, and their circles kind of look like, amoebas or something. So Another option is to pick the shapes tool, and then there's this oval. You can actually draw a perfect circle on here. But that tends to get a little tedious because you always have to go back and select the shape thing and select the circle and then draw the thing again. And it just, I think that it takes longer than just freehanding it. But if you're, super perfectionist, once, you want it to be perfect circles, that's at least how you do it. So we tend to do about 5 to 6 pages per session, and each session is somewhere between 25 and 35 minutes. Though sometimes we do stretch the sessions up to about 40 minutes if we need to fit some of those super intricate and detailed concepts in towards the end of the video. So I'll do my best to try to keep between 25 and 35 minutes, but occasionally it goes a little long. If you do have any questions as we're going through any of this stuff, please feel free to message or call me in Teams, or shoot me an email. Please try to keep the calls during normal school hours if you could, as I definitely would not appreciate a music theory call at 2 in the morning. I will definitely not answer that. But if you do have a question and it's not during the school time, you can always message me because that's not something that's gonna ring or do anything like that. But if you do message me, like say at 6 o'clock at night, or if it's on the weekend, it's in the afternoon or something, you can always send me a message, and if I'm available and I'm free, and I can give you that information at that time, I will definitely do that. But at least you have the question documented, and if I don't check it until Monday or something, I'll still have that record of that message, and I can get back to you to help you troubleshoot that stuff. So please contact me if there's any questions in this. But the cool thing about the video is that you can pause it, you can go over it again, rewind it, watch the concept again. But if it's still not clear, please message me. That's why we're here. Okay. So, Theory 5, let's get rocking and rolling. You have worked with one type of 7th chord so far, a major triad with a minor third on top. For reference purposes, we will refer to this 7th chord as a 7-1 chord. Side note, I don't know why they're coding it with the 7-1 chord. I believe there's 5 chords that they talk about in this particular theory packet, and there's no real rhyme or reason for the order of those. They're just doing it, I guess, as a shorthand. But I particularly call a major triad with a minor third on top a major minor 7th chord. So if I accidentally call it that, that's what this is. The 7-1 chord is the same as a major minor chord. Again, major triad, minor 7th on the top. That's how I learned these particular chords. And this type of chord is also called dominant 7th chord too. So if I happen to say any of those for this particular chord, it all means the same thing. Okay, so make sure you construct a major triad and add a minor third or 3 half steps on the top. This is actually a minor 7th from the root. Again, as I mentioned, major minor 7th chord, major triad, minor 7th on the top. Memorize the interval of the 7th for future reference. If you will look at the bottom note and figure its major key signature, see that all the notes are in the key signature, then lower the top note a half step. This will be an easy way for you to build the 7-1 chords. Build 7-1 chords on the following note. The first one is done for you. Okay, so as you recall from our previous theory levels, or if you've tested into this, you should know this as well because it talked about this, I'm pretty sure, in Theory 4. This is a 7th chord. So you have your root, you have your third, you have your 5th, and you have your 7th, all in a row right there. That is called a perfectly stacked or root position chord, as it were. So all it's asking you to do is to build these chords here. So my usual method for doing this type of thing is that I'll do about half of them, and then I'll ask you to do these 4 kind of on your own. So I'll do these first couple ones for you. Yes, you should still do these in your theory packet, as it's good practice for you, but then you can kind of figure some of these out on your own. Occasionally I'll have to do all of them because it doesn't give me, like 7 examples to do. I'll have to do all of it, which is kind of a good thing for you because then you figure out how to do it in entirety. So let's start building some chords here. So our bottom note is a D. It's asking me to do a major triad with a minor 7th on the top. So there's my stack, and I'm actually going to zoom in just a little bit too, because it's kind of hard for me to see. Let me try one more time. Now that I'm a little bit closer in, there we go. Oop. And again, I'm just using my Control Z whenever there's a shape I don't like. I just hit Control Z and it erases it. Okay, so there's my root position, D, 7th chord. I need to make the first, the bottom part of this, the 3rd and the 5th, a major triad. So I do need to turn that F into a sharp, because that's the major key signature for that. So D, F sharp, and A is my perfect 5th. That's my major triad. Now I'm going to check the 7th. If you remember, a D scale has 2 sharps in it. Those 2 sharps happen to be F sharp and C sharp. So normally a C sharp would be in the key signature, or it's the 7th note of the D major scale. But it is telling us to make this a minor 7th. So I'm going to leave that C alone. That is a D major minor 7th chord, or a 7-1 chord is what this book is calling it. So there it is. All right, next one is F. So this is my chord right here. I've got my 3rd, I've got my 5th, I've got my 7th. So now I'm just, again, going through and, assuming that this is my root, this is my major key signature. I know that F has 1 flat in it, and that flat happens to be B flat. So all of these notes are technically within the key signature of F major. So I'm going to leave the A alone, I'm going to leave the C alone, but I do need to make this E flat to make it a minor 7th on the top. And that's, literally done 2 problems before that, but that's how you do it. All right, so this is going to be the last demonstration one I'm going to do, and then you're going to do these next 4 on your own here. So, all right, so our root is A flat, and again, I'm just going to draw my 3rd. It's not a very good looking 3rd. Let's try that again. There we go. There we go, and there we go. So A flat, and then I've just drawn my 3rd, my 5th, and my 7th. Now I'm going to go through here and start to modify this stuff based on the major key signature. A flat major has 4 flats in it. Those flats are B flat, E flat, A flat, and D flat. So I do need to make that E flat to make it all part of my, major key signature here. And since G natural is in that scale, again, I need to make that flat to make it a minor 7th on the top to make that 7-1 major triad and minor 7th on the top. So let me zoom out just a little bit so we can see those directions again. And again, you're going to do this chunk of it over here on your own. Okay, but that's how you create a root position, major, minor, 7th chord. Okay, we will now take a look at a different 7th chord. This is called a 7-4 chord. Again, there's no real rhyme or reason for the number system that they're using for these 7th chords. It just happens to be the reference that they're using. So 7-4 chord, and it consists of a major triad with a major 3rd or 4 half steps on the top. From now on, we will consider this to be a major 7th. If you will look at the bottom note, figure its major key signature, and see that all of the notes are in the key signature, this will be the easiest way to build a 7-4 chord. Build 7-4 chords on these given roots. The first one is done for you. This is a major triad and a major 7th. So again, I will probably refer to this as a major 7th chord. That's how I referred to it, but it is also the same thing as a 7-4 chord. At some point, I will probably, it'd probably be a good point for you guys to just write this down on like a Post-it note or something, just so you kind of keep track of like which one is which, and that'll be helpful too when you finally get to the test at the end. Okay, I'm going to zoom in again, just because again I need some space to do this, or some room to draw my circles. It's the same exact concept, except I will not have to modify the 7th like I did up here. Well, if it's all in the major key signature. So I add my 3rd, I add my 5th, I add my 7th. D flat major has 5 flats in it. So that is B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, and G flat. So all of those listed there, I can add my A flat in there. So now I know that these are all in my major key signature. I don't need to do anything else. Pretty simple. All right, next we have E flat. So again, I'm just gonna add my 3rd, my 5th, and my 7th up here, and then I'm just going to think E flat major, 3 flats. Those flats are B flat, E flat, and A flat. So I just need to add a B flat right there, and that's all I need to do. All right, I believe this is the, let me see here. Whoops, sorry, I got a little bit further away from me. So let's maybe go up to, let's do this one and leave you guys these 4 problems to do. There we go. Okay, so I got 2 more to demonstrate, and then you can do those last 4 on your own. All right, so F sharp, major. Most of the work of this is just drawing in those notes, the 3rd, the 5th, and the 7th. F sharp major has 6 sharps in it. Those sharps are F sharp, C sharp, G sharp. Oh my goodness, I have to remember it off the top of my head. F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, A sharp, and E sharp. Sorry, lots of sharps to remember there. So pretty much everything is sharp in here. So I'm going to draw in my A sharp. The only thing that isn't sharp, I guess, is, let's see, what would that be? B sharp, but we don't even have that in this chord, so it should be pretty easy. And that's that. Okay, everything is sharp in that to make it a F sharp major, major 7th chord. All right, last one. A major. Thank goodness we only have 3 sharps to contend with here. And those sharps are F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. So I just have to add a sharp on my C and a sharp on my G. Again, that means that all of these notes are now within my major key signature because all of my intervals are major here. So that's how we do that. Okay. So hopefully those aren't too hard. Again, it's just the main part about this is just the tedium of writing out the notes and then figuring out what is sharp, what is flat, what is natural, that sort of thing. Okay, so remember that you are going to do these 4. Okay, I've given you the answers for these, but you should write this down in your packet, and then you will additionally do these 4 on your own so you can practice that concept of drawing 7/4 or major, major 7th chords. Okay. A chromatic scale consists of notes only a half step apart. It may be built on any given note and progresses until the same note is reached an octave higher or lower. When the chromatic scale goes up, it is called an ascending scale and it is written in sharps. When it goes down, it is called a descending scale and it is written in flats. This is like writing all of the white and black keys of the piano in order. I'm going to refer to that so you can see a chromatic scale. Let's say that we started it on F. That just means we're going to go F, F sharp G, G sharp A sharp B, C, C sharp D, D sharp E, and F. That would be a chromatic scale going up. If I were to do it going down, here's my F, F, E, E flat D, D flat C, B, B flat A flat G, G flat, and F. That's what it's saying. Now, could you technically go like F, G flat G, A flat A? You could do it that way. It's, you know, I've seen that demonstrated in multiple pieces of music, but for the purposes of what we're doing, just kind of think when we're going up, we're going to use sharps. We're going down, we're going to use flats. Okay, so this first one, we're starting on E. So we're going to do, again, using your piano. This is a great opportunity to use this. Again, we're going to start, there we go, start on E, and then we're just going to go F, E to F, F to F sharp, G to G. I'm sorry, F sharp to G, G to G sharp, and so on all the way up through this until we get to this E at the very end. Okay, so the tedium of just drawing it out, that's what it is. So we have F, let me zoom in just a little bit here. Make this easier to draw. All right, here we go. So we have F, we've got F sharp. We've got G. I want to make sure that that's directly on that line there so it's really obvious. When you all are doing this, if you would please be really obvious about where your notes are, where your sharps are, where your flats are. Because if I can't tell, you might get marked wrong on it, and that will make you lose some points for the assignment. So be really obvious. Okay, A sharp going to B, B then goes to C, C goes to C sharp. I'll leave myself a little bit of room there so I have the room to add my sharp sign. Going to D, leave myself some room for D sharp. And finally finish it up on an E. So write the following chromatic scale, E ascending chromatic scale. So let me zoom over just a little bit here. Oh, looks like I was supposed to evenly space it all the way there. So when you guys do this, just evenly space it. I was zoomed in, I didn't see the very end of that. So that's how you do the ascending scale. And then if I was to do this with flats and descending, that's what it asks you to do for this descending chromatic scale. Obviously, this is going to be different because it's an E instead, but let's just say, for example, I was going to do it in E just so you can see what it looks like. So I'll start on my E, then I would do E flat, D, again leaving some space for D flat, going to C, going to B, going to B flat, and so on. I'm not going to do the whole thing because it's not asking me to do that, but that's what a descending chromatic scale will look like with the flats. So I'm just going to go ahead and erase this since it's not asking me to do that. But yeah, that's what you're going to do for this D descending chromatic scale. You're going to be doing that in flats, and remember that it is in bass clef. Make sure you always check that. I'm sure you saw that. I'm sure you caught that because you were looking like, wait a second, it's asking for D. It's on this middle line. Oh yeah, it's in bass clef. So just make sure you double check that before you start anything so you don't accidentally do it all incorrectly. Okay. And again, try to use all of this stuff that I did here should have been completely stretched out to this E. Apologies for that, but I'm not going to redraw it since this is just a tutorial video, but y'all are going to do this one. Don't forget to do it in flats. Okay, moving on to the next page. Write an extended chord progression in the following keys. Be sure to determine if the key is major or minor from the given figured bass. So if you remember from figured bass, this is just giving you an idea from what the bass tone is of the chord, and it's giving you the intervals up, and that tells you what type of inversion it is. So for this inversion, a 6/4 chord means that that is a second inversion triad, and a 6/5 is a first inversion 7th chord. Okay, so we'll do that. I'm going to do this example, and then you're going to do the minor one down here. If you don't remember what those inversions are, message me, or if you still have access to the Theory 4 packet, I know that describes that in there, but probably be faster if you just message me if you're still not 100% sure on how to do that. Okay, extended chord progression. So first thing we got to figure out is what the heck is the key signature here. 1 flat, it is saying that it's major because that's an uppercase I, meaning that that's in major, so this is going to be an F major here. Okay, you don't have to draw that F in there. I think actually you're supposed to draw it here. F major. My 4 chord of F major is B flat. Going back to 1 is an F. My 5 chord is going to be a C 6/5 chord, and then again this very last one here is another F chord. Okay, so it's just asking us to do this progression. Be sure to determine if the key is major. Oh, we already said that based on the figured bass. So again, you don't have to draw that F in there. I like to draw that just so I have a reference to it right at the key signature. Whoops. But it's up to you if you want to do that. So my first F chord, I'm just going to draw myself a standard chord here. We're actually going to learn about some voice leading stuff in this particular theory level. So it should be pretty interesting to get into this. Okay. So I have my F as my root. I'm going to double it here. I have my 5th in the chord progression right here, which is a C, and then I have my my 3rd, which is an A natural here. Okay. Now I need to move this to a 4/6/4 chord. Again, that means that it is a second inversion triad. So if the triad is B flat major, that is B flat D F. That means that my F is going to remain in the bass, or the lowest tone. Oh my goodness, I'm trying to make it obvious, and it is. There we go. Okay, and then I can move my C down a step here to B flat, and then I'm going to try to keep these again as I'm going to try to not move this around as much as possible. So I'm going to just move this up to there, and then I'm going to need a D natural here. So this little, I guess that would be the alto voice, would go down a 3rd. That's not too bad in terms of voice leading, but that's how that works right there. All right, going back to F major chord, pretty standard. Again, I'm just going to go back to the same chord that I did at the very beginning. I've got my F, I've got my C, I've got another F here, and I've got an A. I think you can voice this in any way that you want to. It hasn't, particularly told us that it has to be in a certain orientation, but this kind of gives you some room to kind of move your voices around if you like. But again, you can do it in whatever orientation you want, and we will learn about some other rules about like how far voices are supposed to be from each other and that sort of thing later in the packet, but this is kind of following those same rules. So All right, moving on to a 5-6-5 chord. Again, that is a first inversion 7th chord. So that means, again, C, E, G, B. Those are the notes that I need for the chord. First inversion means that my E is going to be in the bass. I'm going to draw my E right here. I'm going to keep my C. I might as well, since it's already that same exact voice, right? So I'm going to keep that there. C, E, G, B. So I'm just going to raise both of these up a step, and that should take care of all the voices, whoops, that I need for this chord. Okay, so I've got an E, I've got a C, I've got an E, I've got a G, and I've got a B. And that's my voice leading for that, okay? Or B flat, excuse me, because it's in the key signature. Okay, and then my last chord, again, I'm just gonna keep the same exact chord I did at the beginning. Since it's not telling me to invert it, I'll just keep it easy, okay? And that is how you do that. Just a review on how to do some chord progression stuff. Not super hard if you went through Theory 4, okay? All right, so you guys are gonna do this portion of it. It is, make sure that you are taking special attention to what the upper or lowercase of that is. That should tell you what kind of scale this is going to be when you analyze this. Again, if you have questions, let me know, okay? Let me redo this again just so I'm not covering up my own directions down here. There we go. Okay. The next type of 7th chord we will look at is a 7-2 chord. The 7-2 chord is a minor triad with a minor third or 3 half steps on the top. Think of it as a minor 7th on the top. Construct 7-2 chords from these given roots. Put in the major key signature, then lower the 3rd and the 7th notes. First one is done for you. Okay, so 7-2 chord, I might refer to this as a minor 7th chord. Again, minor triad with a minor 7th on the top. That's how I learned it. I'm sorry. I will try my best to call them 7-1, 7-4, and 7-2 chords, but I might slip up because, again, that's how I learned it. So, all right, here we go. So for this one, it is in bass clef. Make sure that you recognize that when you're building these chords. This is a because that will obviously change the quality of the chords, but the same thing as before. I'm going to add my 3rd, my 5th, and my 7th to this root note here, and I'm going to modify these notes to make them a minor triad with a minor 7th on the top. So this does tell you to do this extra step of think of the major key signature and then lower the 3rd and the 7th. If you're comfortable doing it that way, you absolutely should do that. But if you happen to know the key signature for the minor scale, that might be a little bit faster to do it that way. For example, I happen to know that B flat minor has 5 flats in it. If you didn't know that, I'm going to show you how to do it the way that it's describing up here, but then I'll do it with the minor one for the next example. So here we go. B flat. B flat major has 2 flats in it. That is B flat and E flat. So all of these notes right here are in the major scale. However, it's asking me to do a minor 3rd or a minor triad, which means the 3rd is minor and the 7th is minor. So I have to flat the 3rd and I have to flat the 7th. So not super long to do that, but if you knew initially, okay, there's 5 flats and those flats are blah, 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 you could just rip right up the chord and do it that way, like I'm going to do for this one. So this is a G root and bass. Okay, I know that G minor has 2 flats in it, and I know those flats are B flat and E flat. Let's see, I have G, B flat, D, and F natural. That's all belongs in the key signature of G minor. Okay. However you want to do it, whatever makes the most sense to you, do it that way, because that's what's going to be the most comfortable and easiest for you to do, you know, with your own understanding of it. All right, one more here. E flat major has 3 flats in it. Those flats are B flat, E flat, and A flat. But in order to make this minor, I have to flat the 3rd and I have to flat the 7th. So that's, again, their way of doing it. Whatever way that you like, you should do it that way. And it looks like I've got one more example here. So let me circle this. This is what you guys are going to do on your own. And I'll do this last example my way of knowing that A minor has no sharps and no flats in it. So boom, that is already correct. If I was doing this with the other way, I would have to do like, okay, here's my C sharp and here's my G sharp, and now I need to think of it in terms of minor. I need to lower the 7th and the 3rd, and now I've got to go back and erase this. So as you can see, like in some instances, it'll make you do more work than you have to if you just know those minor key signatures, and you probably know at least a couple of them, so trust yourself, but again, always go with what you know is going to be correct so you do it right. Okay? Okay. Write the counts and add some natural accents to the music. So if you have just started tuning into this for the first time, the natural accents thing, I'm going to review what that concept means, but if you've gone through the packets, you know exactly what this means. So all that natural accents are that you are going to accent the first note of every single measure. And I'm going to just do this first line here for the counting and the natural accents, and then y'all are going to do these two for practice as well as the first one that I'm doing. So these are your primary accents. Again, it's the primary because it's the first note of the measure. Your secondary accents are going to be on the midway point if it is 4/4 or 6/4 or something with a very clear midpoint to it. If you're in 3/4, the midpoint of a 3/4 measure would actually be the second half of count 2, so the and of 2. You don't add a secondary or a secondary accent on that just because it would be really weird to emphasize something that's not a downbeat. You only do the secondary accents if it is 4/4 or 6/4 or something that has an obvious midway point. I will wait to do those. I'm going to do the back half of these just because I know where they are. Just looking at this, very comfortable with reading rhythm. Eventually you're going to get to this too where you can just rip through this, but essentially the midway point of a 6/4 bar is going to be count 4. So you have your 1, 2, 3, that's the first half of the measure, and then your 4, 5, 6 is the second half of the measure. So whenever you find that out where count 4 is, you're just going to add a little dash above it. Okay? All right, here I go. So whenever you're counting, the first thing always comes in on count 1. Whenever you have eighth notes, those are worth half a beat, so you have 2 and. Got count 3. A half note is worth 2 beats. Our system that is in the theory of the fundamentals of theory packet does not have you add this little dash in here. However, I like to add it in there so I know that these two numbers are connected. I'll demonstrate what it's supposed to be when I get to this half note, but this is the way that I prefer to do it. It is a little extra step, but I think it's very useful. So anyway, finish off my thing with count 6. Remember that you need to account for all of the counts in the time signature. So if it's 6/4, you better make sure that you find 6 counts in there. Otherwise, it is incorrect, or it's a pickup system measure thing, which this one does not have. Okay, moving on. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Oh, that reminds me, I need to do my midway point. So there's my count 4. It's on that half note right there. It's on this quarter note right here. Okay, the way that the packets have been describing this is that you're going to do it right next to each other like this. I think that's kind of sloppy, and sometimes the counts are just so close together that it's just kind of hard to tell that. So I like to do a dash so I know that they're connected in between there. It's up to you to do that though. All right, this measure is super easy because it's just all quarter notes. I know from my time signature that the quarter note gets the beat, so whenever I see a measure of all quarter notes, that is the easiest measure ever. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so now I have something that is sustaining for 3 counts. So I'm going to go 1-2-3. This tie means I'm also going to connect it here with another dash, and then I've got another dotted half note there that's worth 3 counts, right? All right, and now I'm on to my last measure here. 1, 2, and 3, 4-5. Here's my 5 and 6. Now, I went through this really fast. This is something that we've been doing for the past 4 packets, kind of working our way up, but this is technically one of the easier examples that we've had to do. But if you're still not sure how to do this, maybe you tested into this level, but you're not super confident on your counting, just ask me. I can definitely help you with figuring out the counting for this stuff. Okay, moving on to page number 5. I think we're going to get through the bottom of page 7. Okay, so we still have quite a few pages to go here. Let me check my timeline and see where we're at. I think we're doing okay on time to be able to get through that stuff, so here we go. The circle of keys, or circle of fifths, is a good way to remember the names of the major and minor keys and their key signatures. C major and A minor are the starting point. If you move clockwise around the circle, add each key that adds a sharp or takes away a flat is a perfect fifth away from the previous key. The three middle keys are called enharmonic, or there are two names for the same notes. It can be written in either sharps or flats, and what it's talking about is these guys down here. Okay, we'll get to that in just a second. So I'm going to really quickly talk about what the heck this thing means. So at the top of the circle, that's your C major / A minor. I'm just going to talk about the major key signatures for now because, again, hopefully you remember how to figure out your relative minors from the majors. It's just down a minor third. So I'm just going to be talking about the major key signatures to make it at least initially easy to understand. So as you can see here, C major, that is a perfect fifth, or a perfect fifth. Above that is G, that has one sharp in it. A perfect fifth up from G is G, A, B, C, D. That has two sharps in it. Another perfect fifth, D, E, F, G, A. That is three sharps. And so on until you get all the way over here to C sharp with 7 sharps. Okay. That is going clockwise around the circle. If you go counterclockwise, you just go down a perfect fifth. So again, C, let's go backwards. C, B, A, G, F. If I go a perfect fifth down, that is F major with 1 flat. If I go a perfect fifth down again, that is F, E, D, C, B flat. That is the one with 2 flats in it, and so on all the way down here to, where is it? C flat major. Okay. Let me talk a little bit about this enharmonic thing that it says down here. So as you're working your way around the circle, you have something that's 4 flats here, and then it skips over here to 5 flats, which is D flat major. Okay. D flat is the same thing as C sharp. Right? When you look on your piano, D flat is the same as C sharp. It's the exact same tone on your keyboard, right? It's the same frequency, however you want to describe it. Okay. However, when you're talking about key signatures, D flat has 5 flats, and those flats, well, let's start on the root and say D flat, E flat, F, G flat, A flat, B flat, C, D flat. That's the progression in D flat major. Progression for C sharp major is C sharp. Well, let's actually do this on the piano. It'll be easier to see. So I have D flat, E flat, F, G flat, A flat, B flat, C, D flat. That's for D flat major, what I just described. Okay? For C sharp major, C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, because remember, I have to have this alpha represented in the scale, right? So E sharp is really F natural, but we're saying it's E sharp, and we have F sharp, G sharp, complete the circle, there we go, A sharp, B sharp, again, as I have to have that alpha B represented there, and then C sharp. It's the exact same sequence of tones. Just one of them refers to things in the sharps, one of them refers to things in the flats. That's all that enharmonic means. It's the same scale. You're just thinking of it with flats as the reference or sharps as the reference. It's as simple as that. Okay, so these two, same tones, you just have it with a different understanding or a different reference point as to, you know, what the notes are being called. Same thing here. G flat and F sharp major, same exact keys. Right, F sharp, G sharp, I'm sorry, F sharp and G flat. If you do that scale, it's the same exact tones again. And last but not least, we have our C flat major and we have our B major. Okay. C flat major / B major. It's the same exact sequence. Okay, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B, or C flat, D flat, E flat, F flat, G flat, A flat, B flat, C flat. Okay, hopefully that makes sense why these are called enharmonic scales or enharmonic keys. okay? Each one of these, it's the same tonal series. You're just calling the notes different things, either sharp or flat. Those that make sense, message me, I can describe that. Okay, now it's asking you to draw the circle of fifths from memory. Just remember that the top is C with 0 sharps and flats, and then all you're doing is going up a perfect fifth each time. C to G to D, A, E, B, F sharp, and C sharp, or going backwards. F, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, and C flat. Okay, you should be able to figure out those intervals and do those fifths there. If you're still not sure how to do it, message me, I'll help you out. Okay, now we are going to get into the melodic line. You know what, actually, we've already covered quite a bit of information, so I think we're actually going to stop right there before we start getting into a new concept at the end of this video, and we'll talk about those 2 pages in the next video. So, as always, if you have questions about this, if you're not sure about anything, please message me. Please call me as long as it's in school hours. Please email me, get some type of communication to me so that way I can get the answers to your questions so you're not confused. It is okay to be confused. You're in Theory 5. This stuff is confusing. And if that happens to you, please let me help you understand this if the video is not a good description on how to do it. Okay? So that finishes up for page 5. I think we only did 4 pages, but we're kind of talking about reviewing some stuff and getting you into the packet. So the next session might be a little bit long just because we might have to make up some pages here to try to keep everything about even in terms of the sessions, but we'll call this good for right now. Okay, I will see you in session number 2. Have a great rest of your day, and as always, please message me if you have any questions or problems. Take care.